Good morning. Man, it is the morning too. I had to wake up early so I can drive far away for work. I'm the cheap audio man. My name's Randy. Oh boy, this morning we're going to talk about the Elac B6.2. And I know, you may say, Randy, you're way late to the game. And I am. But the reason I am is because I actually have to buy everything. Nobody's sending me stuff to review. Quite the opposite. I'm having to scour the interwebs, find the best deal I can on gear that I think I might like. Well, I was blown away by the Elac Debut B6. And I'm actually going to do a video of these two compared. But I wanted to give kind of an initial impression of them. And first thing you'll notice is that they are quite different than the original. They're skinnier, they're taller, and they obviously have a front port. I actually think the build quality is better on these than the originals. It has more bracing. I think the cabinet's more inert. Not that I really had an issue with the first ones. I mean, yeah, they're not nearly as, I think, internally braced as well as these are. I don't particularly have any issue with them. The vinyl wrap seems a lot better on these than even like the, oh, never mind, even than the UB5s. Like, I think they figured it out this time around. And there's some like grain in there. They look better, and I kind of like the industrial look of this one with the screws and everything, and it kind of being black on black instead of having the silver ring. That's personally just me. But from a sound perspective, they are a departure from what the first ones were. I had and still have very high hopes for this speaker because I was very impressed with the B6. I think the B6 is just, it's like something I'd never heard before, not necessarily from a sound perspective, but from the way that the off-axis response, the sound staging, how wide the sound came from, and how deep the sound came from. I listened last night, and my initial impressions was that, whoa, this is a really bright speaker. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, the off-axis response is really good. I knew that they had made some differences in the tweeter. Maybe I have it towed in too much. And towed in is just like this. It's pointing the speaker at you from the wall. So I towed them out. I wouldn't say drastically. They definitely weren't shooting straight out into the room. There's a slight toe in. And that seemed to tame down the brightness a bit. And I actually watched a interview with Steve Gutenberg. It's a very good channel. It's called The Audiophiliac. I'm actually giving props to people that have like 150,000 subscribers, and I have like 22. So maybe I should try to get Steve to give me a shout out. Anyway, Steve, that channel's a great channel. But Steve interviewed Andrew Jones, the designer of these, and he did mention that the tweeter was redesigned and he wanted to have a really good off-axis response. Off-axis is how far sideways are you from the speaker. You're not dead center, but you're sitting over here. So basically, more people can enjoy the speaker, and it allows for a lot more placement options. You don't have to tow the speaker right in if you have it on a desktop or bookshelf. You can tow them straight out. Another thing is, front ported, you can actually put them in a bookshelf. I don't know if I'd recommend it, but you can. So to get the same amount of bass out of these as I did the first ones, I had to shove them much more closely to the wall than the others, which makes a lot of sense considering that the original B6s are reported. So I let them run for a while last night to try to loosen them up. And this morning I came in and I listened, and I towed them away from me, and it's really good. It's really good. These are different speakers. These are very different speakers with a few similarities. If I had to compare these to anything initially out of the box, actually it'd be the KEF LS50. And I know that sounds preposterous because the KEF LS50 is such a refined piece of audiophile equipment. But the top end, now I need to listen to a lot more. The top end was just very KEF-like. And I would say when these are towed in, more facing you more directly, these are brighter than the Klipsch RP600M. This is a bright speaker if you point it at you. It's definitely not neutral as the first gen right now. And you know what? Let me play with room placement. Let me A/B some speakers. This was just me putting them up, what I remember from the B6, and I just listened to the B6s, the originals. But it's a big difference. Like if I didn't know this is Elac and you put the Elac Debut ones and these next to each other and I A/B'd them, and you said this is a different company, I'd be like, oh yeah, these sound way different. And that's if you're going to, a place where they don't know how to play speakers to get the best out of them. Bottom line, these have way more placement options, and it's kind of, if I had to describe it, it's kind of leaning towards an audiophile speaker without having the audiophile placement restrictions. And I think that's a good compliment. Yeah, they soundstage. I will say I listened to Hey Jude by the Beatles. And initially when I listened to it, the tambourine was so it wasn't sibilant. Sibilant is when the S is make a lot of sh. It's kind of annoying. I will say that this thing, the soundstage, like the presentation seemed to be from behind the speakers and very wide, but right between the speakers. But it was very good. Like I heard two different voices in harmony. The tambourine was over to the left, I believe, and it was clear. And I don't recall a time hearing on that song the two voices in harmony. So it was very revealing. It was very, very good. I'm going to do a lot more testing to see what the soundstage is like. A little bit more placement. It changes. But this is way different than the first one. And I'll talk more about the similarities and dissimilarities. It's a great speaker from what I've listened to it. You have to really shove it against the wall though. I mean, I'm talking about within like 6 inches of the wall to get a similar bass response from this as I did from the first one. And the first one, I was almost 20 inches from the wall. So, and that's somewhat intuitive considering the port placement. But I'm excited to do the review. I think this probably has more in common with the Klipsch RP600M, even the KEF LS50s, rather than the Debut B6s. I'm going to see what they sound like compared to the Unify UB5s by Elac as well. But this to me sounds like a more brighter speaker. But we'll see. So I hope you liked the video. Please subscribe. I've been picking up a few new subscribers here and there. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the questions and the comments too. And I hope you help me. If you subscribe, I guarantee I'm going to bring you some value. And if I don't, unsubscribe. But also, on the way, the debut reference, which I am super excited about. So I'm going to be able to compare the Debut first generation to the Debut B6 second generation to the Unify first generation to the Debut Reference. And that is a lot of Elac speakers. But if you had to call me a fanboy of anything, I think it would be Elac. So we'll see. Hopefully I don't get divorced before that, because I have so many speakers coming in. Excuse me. So, Randy, I'm the cheap audio man. I put a speaker up last night about the Edifier R17 BTS. Check it out. It's a great desktop solution, with a caveat. Going out on the road today, so I'm going to be doing some earbud / IEM videos, and a little bit of a surprise for you about how to make your IEM sound the best. So have a great day. Have a good morning. I am Randy, and I am the cheap audio man.